Good evening, everyone. Okay, good evening and welcome to the second presentation, Health, Hope and Happiness program. We are delighted to have you here. So thank you for being here to continue this journey together. So my name is Daniel. I'm not a pastor. I'm the elder of the church here, helping Pastor Torres, our pastor here, senior pastor for Richmond Church. And we'll have this journey together for the next few days until April 5. So we'll be here most of the nights except next week on Wednesday. So Wednesday, April 2nd, we have a day off, but other than that, we'll be here every night at 7 o'clock. In addition to these nights, we also have on Saturday a program here from 11 o'clock. So I'd like to extend the invitation to all of you to participate. So every Saturday, we'll have two presentations. One will be from 11 o'clock, and we have the evening presentation at 7 o'clock. The same will happen on April 5, the second Saturday, when we have the second presentation. Also, we have here Karen Lynch. She will make an announcement at the end. So we'll have a cooking class on Sunday, this coming Sunday, and we hope everyone will be able to participate. Let me see who was here last night for the first presentation. Okay, maybe half of you or a bit more. Did you enjoy the presentation? Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Who's here for the first time? Okay, wow, we have a few new visitors. Welcome. Yeah, we are glad to have you. Thank you for being with us today. And I have a good news for those who missed the presentation yesterday. You can see the presentation on YouTube. Also, for those who want to watch the program again, all the presentation will be on YouTube. You have to go to Google and put Richmond BC SDA. So Richmond BC SDA, you'll be able to see all the presentations. And also we have live streaming. So if one of the nights you'll not be able to come here, but you'll be available at 7 o'clock, I will ask the IT maybe at the end of the program to have the link here on the screen, so you'll be able to see the program from home or to share that link with someone. But we hope you'll be here in presence, so having you here is much better. We are here a family, and we are blessed by your presence. Before moving forward, I have a few short announcements. So we have some registrations form at the entrance in the foyer. So it's not mandatory for you to complete one, but that one will help us to remain in contact with you. So if you have any questions, or in the future, if you have any other programs, similar programs, or if you are interested in something in the future, we would like to know about that, and we will continue to keep you updated about these upcoming programs. But as I said, it's not mandatory. If you want to complete, we will be happy. If not, you still have a few more evenings to think about. And also we have some health flyers at the entrance. Feel free to take for yourself or to share with someone. So we have here secrets for mental health. We have tired of being tired. We have food that help to fight cancer. We have life-changing habits. We have different topics, so feel free to take from the foyer. And for the upcoming nights, we will also plan to have some magazines always related with health, and they will be available and free for you to pick up from there. We have the washrooms outside, so if you need to use the washroom, please connect with one of the ushers from the entrance. You'll get the key and you can use the washrooms. Also, we have some refreshments. So if during the program or at the end of the program, if you want to pick up some fruits or sandwich or water, we have the kitchen at the entrance over there. So feel free to do that. I will also discuss with you a bit about the topics and the speakers, but before that, I want to invite the praise team. So we have a theme song for this program, so I'd like to invite them to come here. So we'll have the song here on the screen. Feel free to sing with us if you feel. If not, you'll just enjoy the words and the message from the praise team and those who will sing together. So Sister Victoria and Sister Lumi, they will lead us with this song. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you guys. So today we're going to sing It Took a Miracle. The words will be on the screen, so please help us. My Father is omnipotent, and that you can deny. A God of might and miracles, 'tis written in the sky. It took a miracle to put the stars in place. It took a miracle to hang the world in space. But when He saved my soul, cleansed and made me whole, it took a miracle of love and grace. Though here His glory has been shown, we still can fully see the wonders of His mighty throne till take eternity. It took a miracle to put the stars in place. It took a miracle to hang the world in space. But when He saved my soul, cleansed and made me whole, it took a miracle of love and grace. The Bible tells us of His power and wisdom all the way through, and every little bird and flower are testimonies too. It took a miracle to put the stars in place. It took a miracle to hang the world in space. But when He saved my soul, cleansed and made me whole, it took a miracle of love and grace. Amen.
So for today, in addition to that main presentation, we also have a health nugget because we want to share with you more than one topic per night. So health nugget will be something that it's shorter than a presentation, maybe about 10 minutes or so. And for that, I would like to invite Ron Lynch here. So for those who missed the introduction yesterday, our friend Ron Lynch, so he's not new for our church here in Richmond. So he came here together with his wife Karen Lynch, and they are the directors for the North American Division Light Ministry, and Light Ministry stands for Lay Institute for Global Health Training, and also they are involved with the Wildwood Life Center, Lifestyle Center. So they have a large experience, and we are glad that they will share with us from their experience. Also, during this night, we'll have also some personal experiences and testimonies for those who experience different difficult health situations, and how changing the lifestyle was very helpful for them to become healthy. So at this time, I would like to invite Ron for the health nugget. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's good to be here, right?
Yes.
I'll tell you what. I come to BC, to Vancouver, Richmond area, and I'm expecting rain all the time. That's what my app shows me. And all I'm getting is sunshine. So I'm very, very excited to be here this evening. By the way, I believe it's Robert, right? Robert here he told me he's from Hawaii. He spent 50 years in Hawaii. So a lot of sun in Hawaii, right? So tonight I'm going to be doing a short health nugget. This isn't going to take too long. But last night it was interesting because we talked about finding our superpower, right? Yes. And I was out today, and you know what I was doing? I was walking. And I thought, you know what? this is part of, and maybe one of my superpowers. And I got really excited, and I was thinking about this, and so I have a question for you now, and that is this. We're coming to a health seminar, and we're probably looking for some answers on health, right? Which tells me that either you or someone you know may be struggling with some type of health issues, right? So my question is, does anybody here know anyone, or maybe themselves, may be struggling with type 2 diabetes? Anybody know anybody? Listen, here's what I know, and I'm not going to share the statistics tonight because this is a health nugget, but I know if you didn't raise your hand, you just weren't answering the question, because the statistics just don't lie. We all know someone who is struggling with diabetes. But I'm going to challenge you tonight, because in this health nugget, I'm going to share something with you, and I'm going to tell you that most of you probably have never heard of what I'm going to share. So if by chance that I was lucky enough to share with you something in the next 5 to 10 minutes that you've never heard of, but you know it would help someone who's struggling with type 2 diabetes, would you be willing to help somebody with this? Yes. You would, right? So let's talk about walking and its road to recovery, okay? So Dr. Loretta DiPietro, who is a professor of exercise science from Georgetown University, and she writes this. She writes that in her research that when we go for a walk after we eat, that it helps aid in our digestion. The same as the little book that we saw a little over 100 years ago. It goes on in the article to actually state that, guess what? If you exercise too much, that guess what? It can cause you struggles. It can be more harmful than it can be good. Now, this is good news for those who are suffering with issues from after they're eating. Just a simple walk after you eat is very helpful. But you say to me, Ron, you said we were going to talk about diabetes, right? Well, guess what? I've got really good news, because guess what? In the same article, she goes on to say that, guess what? Just a short walk after you eat helps to help people with type 2 diabetes. Now, I had known this for years and years, but what I didn't know was the physiology behind it. So Karen and I were doing a presentation in Texas, and we met a Dr. Errol Bryce. And this Dr. Bryce was talking about something that I had never heard of before, which was called GLUT4, or glucose transporter number 4. Now, I want to know who in this room has heard of glucose transporter number 4. All right, you have. Okay, good. It's heard. So, but here's the thing. Most of us have not heard of GLUT4. Well, I'm going to share with you what GLUT4 is and what it does. But what's interesting about GLUT4 is that it only is activated, guess what? When you exercise. GLUT4 is activated when you exercise. What does this mean? Well, this is how this works. Imagine here that you have your cell, you can see on the picture right here, and you have the glucose, which is when your food's been digested, it's coming down through the bloodstream, right? And it's supposed to go to a key receptor called insulin. But when you have type 2 diabetes, most of the time what you will find is that there is a fat that is on top of that cell coating it so that that glucose won't enter into the cell. Therefore, you have an abundance of this glucose in your bloodstream, and that's what the type 2 diabetes stems from. God, in his infinite wisdom, gave us, guess what? A second chance. So even without a dietary change, you listen to this, even without a dietary change, if you are exercising after you eat, and remember is this a vigorous exercise? No, just a light exercise. What happens is this GLUT4 or glucose transporter number 4 does is that it will actually go up out of the cell into the bloodstream, and it will take the glucose and bring it back into that cell. Now, its job is to physically, as the word tells us, is to transport this glucose. And it transports it to 2 different places. It transports it to energy that we use now, and then it also takes it to a place called fat, which is stored for our energy for later use. So you see, by simply walking 5 to 10 minutes after each meal, not only will you get the health benefits of aiding in your digestion, but you will actually see your numbers be decreased for the type 2 diabetes. This is truly an amazing thing. So my challenge to you, what you're going to find in the classes that I'm working with, is that I'm very practical, and I want us to all be able to we can insert all this information into our minds, but what are we going to do with it? You know, one of the things that you may want to consider is that when we are through, guess what? Maybe we would like to start changing some habits. And you know, studies show us that our habits can be changed within 21 days. So we can make good, positive habits and changes. And so my challenge to you is, if you or someone you know is suffering with type 2 diabetes, is to, guess what? Maybe let them know about walking. But I would like to take it one step further. You see, I believe that we should be people to physically help people, because a lot of people, maybe if they're having a struggle with walking, right, that maybe they just don't feel like doing it. But what if you, guess what, decided to go walk with them? You see? And you guess what? Not only will they receive the benefit, but you will receive the benefit as well. That's our health nugget for this evening.
Okay, that was great. Thank you very much. So be prepared for every evening for a health nugget. And I think at the end of the program, we'll have time for questions and answers. So if you have any questions, keep them for the end. And at the end, we'll take that time to have the answers. So for next part of the program right now, the topic is Lovify Your Life. So the speaker for tonight, the same that we had yesterday night, it's Arm Break, and I would like to say that he has an extensive experience as a pastor, administrator, director of the health ministry. He's also an author, and he's pursuing a PhD in lifestyle medicine. So as I know, the presentations are based on the book that he wrote. I don't know if he'll be okay to share with you what is the full power plant. And last night we were really blessed by the presentation. As I mentioned, if you missed that one, please check on the YouTube, Richmond, BC SDA. And we are looking forward for the presentation tonight. So I'd like to invite him to come forward. Thank you.
So how's everybody doing?
Good.
All right, so when we get our slides up there, then I'll start talking about the topic for tonight. But those of you who are here, what did we talk about last night? Finding your superpower. Why would you even need to?
Gives you purpose.
Gives you purpose. And what's the good of having a purpose? Anybody? It does contribute to happiness, which is a theme of our seminar here, this event. We also noted that it gives 7 years on average to a life. Those, just having a sense of purpose gives you 7 extra years because it gives you motivation and power to do things which are healthy because you have this purpose on the go. And now, anything else? What else do you remember from last night, from what we talked about? Okay, let me ask you, did you learn anything last night?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Okay, just checking. All right. So, Robert, did you have your hand up? Or just saying that you learned something?
Motivates you.
It motivates you,
Yeah,
yes.
that was the thing. It's
Okay.
what makes you want to wake up and have also
And
a purpose.
do something purposeful.
Provides a transformation. in one's
Transformation
life.
as well. When, and I gave a little illustration when I was on the ferry. Do you remember what it was? I just loved
The cinnamon rolls.
the cinnamon rolls, especially the gooey ones and the sugary ones, and that cost $4.50 on the ferry. And remember, because I had a purpose, I was able to resist the cinnamon roll because I knew that sugar would damage my thinking that night, because that's what sugar does. And you'll learn about that later on. I won't be talking about it. But just know that sugar is tasty, but it's a tasty toxin. And I didn't want that ruining my brain because I needed to have an alert mind. And so there's an example of where having a purpose contributes to your healthiness. And you add that up 100 times, those little decisions that we make because we have a purpose, then that makes us healthier people, more confident people, energized people, et cetera, et cetera. And so let's just see if we can, what I'm talking about here is based upon a seminar that I do called Running on Full Power, which I will be doing throughout British Columbia for this year. And that's based upon the book that Daniel mentioned. And the full of full power has to do with mental health. The power of full power has to do with physical and physiological health. Each of the letters of full power represent a health principle. And last night was the letter F. Find your superpower so you can fulfill your purpose. And it's the beginning of all the other good stuff that we need to have in the health principles. So the question I asked, I'll ask one last time. Anything, there's new people here tonight. And the people who are here new, they want to know, what did the rest of you learn last night that they need to know? What is it? Yes, please.
Look into what people tell you you are good at
Ah.
and find where you fit.
Thank you. Yeah. So that was, if you don't know what your purpose is, then ask other people what they think you're good at, because you may not know that you're actually good at something, because to you it's just normal. But for someone else, that's not normal for them. Like most people can't do what you can do. And we talked about Einstein. Albert Einstein said something. Do you remember what he said? Well, they say he said it. I don't know if he really did, but.
Something about like a fish trying to climb a tree.
Yeah, but a fish climbing a tree. Now, are fish built for that?
No.
They're not. No, okay. And he said, everyone's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, that fish will go through its whole life thinking it's stupid. And guess what? All of us, it's not a matter of whether you're smart or not. It's a matter of what you're smart in. It's how you're smart. We're all geniuses in something, and we're all completely stupid at other things. We may as well just admit it. But look at what you're good at, and then build your life on that. And then the weaknesses that we have, and we all have them, they will be less, less present in your life, and have a less of an impact. So find out what you're good at. Now, we did pass this out, and we don't need to do it right now, but here is basically a questionnaire. How are you doing at living a life of purpose? 10 questions. Measure yourself on a scale of 100. If you don't know what your purpose is, then here are some questions on the back to say, here's some questions you can ask yourself so you can figure out what is your purpose. And that means 7 extra years of life, if I may be oversimplifying it by saying that. So that's there for you. Any last thoughts before we move on? Okay. What does this remind you of? The blue zones, right? Where people live the longest. Now, these are the 5 original blue zones that Dan Buettner from National Geographic discovered about 18, 20 years ago. He wrote several books on it. He has a cookbook called How to Live to Be 100. And since this came out, there are at least 40 more blue zones around the world and in the United States, et cetera. Singapore is another one as well. And so, interestingly enough, that these blue zones, the people who live the longest in the world live in these places here. Where are they? Loma Linda, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Sardinia, Icaria, Greece, and Okinawa. And we talked about, hey, welcome. And we talked about the things they have in common. And one of the things they have in common was having a sense of purpose. And so that is a contribution, not the only cause, but a contribution to having a life of full power, to having a life full of health, et cetera, et cetera. Now, interesting, Ron, you talked about walking, because this particular place you're looking at on the screen is a place that I and my wife walked. It's called Silver Hills. I'll be going there tomorrow. I've been there about 4 times, and they have programs, kind of like what you're learning here, but only you'll live there for 2 weeks. And in October, I'll be running the program with Phil Brewer with Using Full Power. When I first went there, I was completely exhausted. Went there with my wife. We'd all worked about 80 to 90 hours a week, and and we were exhausted. I don't know what happened to us, but we felt dead. And we went to Silver Hills, and they told us, this was about 20 years ago, and they told us on day 1, we're going to be there for 21 days. You talked about 21 days. So they had a program for 21 days. They're going to feed us high-octane fuel, just fruit, nuts, grains, legumes, and what else? Seeds. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing processed at all. Yes, please.
I went there.
You went there.
Yes.
Did it do you good?
He's a wonderful person.
He really is. Phil Brewer is.
His
Thank you.
daughter, his wife writes cookbooks.
She sure does. Yeah.
She cooks all the meals when you were there.
She did. She doesn't do that anymore, but she did at the time.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Me too.
Eileen Brewer is her name. Beautiful lady. Yeah. So he went there. They have several cookbooks now. Great cookbooks, etc. My wife has them all and everything. And so thank you. Yeah. So Silver Hills. Now, when we got there, they were running a 21-day program. They don't do that now. It's just a 12-day program and a 1-week program. And Phil Brewer said, by the end of the program, you'll be doing the Ironman walk. Well, so what do you mean, Ironman walk? It's 18 miles around this mountain. Not 18 kilometers, 18 miles. How many kilometers is that? It's like 29 kilometers or something. None of us had ever done that before, ever, and none of us really wanted to do it even now. But he says you will be. And sure enough, they fed us high-octane fuel, which is
Vegetarian.
yes, it is. It's the P of power. Prioritize high-octane fuel in your diet. Prioritize that. Do the best you can to eat out of the garden, off a tree, or off a bush, as best as you can, unrefined, whole foods, plant-based. So they did that for us. And then we went walking, a digestive walk, that's what you called it, right? Twice a day, once after breakfast and once after lunch. And we had just a light supper, and then a lecture in the evening, kind of like what we're doing here. And on day 21, we went for our 18-mile Ironman walk. And it took us almost 5 hours to do it. But we were so proud of ourselves that we could never have done that on day 1. But in 21 days, we were able to do that. And remember what we mentioned last night about this lady, 65 years old in Florida, named Frances? Remember what we said about her? That she went to a 21-day program. And what? With a wheelchair. And before she got out of there, she tossed that chair, and she's now walking 10 miles a day, when before she could hardly ever walk because she was given 1 year to live. And the doctor said, you're going to die in a few months anyway, so you may as well just, planned to die. And she ended up living 35 more years. Why? Because she went to one of these kind of programs and she put into practice those kinds of things. So that, for me and my wife, we were at Silver Hills and we did that. Well, when we got back home, we'd been away for a month. People said to us, "Who are you? We don't recognize who you are. You've lost this weight, you look so healthy, and you look like 10 years younger." All in 21 days. It is possible. Now for us, we got really radical. We changed everything we could and got healthy. It's really hard to do that for a lot of people. Just change one habit at a time and kind of gradually go into it. But if you are, if you're given 1 year to live, you're going to change it all at one time, just like Frances did. And then I showed you the books that her grandson did. So let's go to the next slide. Oh, got turned off. All right, we'll fix that. So when Frances came back to Florida from California, where that 21-day program was, she inspired a little boy named Michael, who was 10 years old. Do you remember about him? Anybody from last night? Dr. Michael Greger, who has written 3 New York Times best-selling books on health and nutrition. One is called How Not to Die. And it doesn't mean that you don't die. It means he picked all of the diseases that people die from, well, the 15 top chronic diseases, and says how not to die from each of those. How not to die from cancer. How not to die from diabetes. How not to die from high blood pressure. You know, how not to die from this and from that. It ran away. Funny that, pardon? You ran. You ran. I have never had that experience, but I am told that if you were to meet a bear in the woods, that it would be more afraid of you than you would be of it. Unless you run, but no, I was thinking the other one. Well, who said cub? Unless it's a mother bear with cubs. Then you are in trouble, right? You are in trouble. And so now, that was my introduction to the dog store, because really, I have never met a bear in the woods. When I was walking those 18 miles with my wife at Silver Hills in the Rocky Mountains of Lumbee, just 1 hour east of Vernon, I was told there were bears in the woods. And I was told if you make enough noise, they'll hear you from a distance and they won't come around, which is what I did. So I was walking with my wife and I was making noise. I go, hi, 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 hi. That's what I actually did. My wife was very entertained by this. And so, but you know, it made me think, we were so nervous about a bear coming out into the woods. I was sure a bear was going to jump out and say, hiya. But there was no bear. There was no bear. But I have met a few dogs, and that's why you see that the bear store, oh, look at that. That's the mother bear right there. You don't want to mess with a mother bear, not at all. So this is the place where I met the dog. This is Berman University, and those arrows represent where I started my jog, going down the hill. You went down a kilometer. This is actually a picture I took last year around the same place. You go a kilometer down to the bottom of the hill, and you turn up, and you make all these turns to go to the highway. And so, but remember, I said it was nighttime. And so I'm now made the turn coming down. I'm coming down another road. I'm going to make a left at the bottom and go up to the college again. That's the idea. And that is when this dog came out, all right? And so, flight or fight, I took off. I was running down this very road in the dark at the time, and I could hear his paws behind me, and I could the clacking like on the road, so I knew he was after me, and my ears told me he was like 3 feet behind me, and if I stopped, I'd be dead. And so I got to the bottom of the road and looked up, and I saw the lights of the college up on the hill. I had 1 kilometer to go up that hill, and I thought, how am I going to do this? I got to go up a hill fast. How am I going to do this? But you know what? When you have adrenaline running in your body, you're like an Olympic athlete. And that's what I was. I just soared up that hill. And I got to the top, and can you imagine? This is the hill right here, going up the hill, and way off in the distance is you can't hardly see it, it's so dark. But way off in the distance, that's the college up there. But guess what? I did it in 15 minutes flat. 15 minutes flat. And I bragged to all of my friends. I said, look, I can do that run in 15 minutes flat. I'll show you if you want me to show you. But no, they did not. I could never do it again. I needed the dog to do that. Now, interesting. Compare, I said there's 2 dog stories, right? That was dog story number 1. Dog story number 2 is several years later, and I'm now married to my wife, whose name is June. She is now a principal of a small school, and we're in a place called Botwood, Newfoundland. And we would go, and because she went to school, I don't know, 8:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, we would go jogging at 6 in the morning, 6:30, just as the sun was rising. So here we are jogging. Okay, that's not really us. If it was us, I'd be in front. No, I'm just kidding. And so I wanted to give you the idea. We're jogging. It's kind of dark, but the sun is almost rising, so you can almost see things. Now, the pink arrow represents my wife, and the blue arrow represents me, and that's the road that we're on. And then you see the 3 houses there, and the backyard and the fences, and that's the dog over there. Now, so we're jogging along now, just to note that when you're walking your woman down the road, you position yourself on the outside of the sidewalk so that it's more gentlemanly for you to get hit by the car than to let your wife get hit by the car if a car's coming down. You know this, right? This is called being a gentleman. So that's what I was doing. I was the gentleman. And I didn't look forward to getting hit by a car, but I had to be I didn't have to be, I was. And so I always would walk on that part. Now, that's significant, as you will see in a moment, where I was walking because, yeah. The problem was I knew that dog 3 yards back couldn't jump the fence. And I was happy that the fence was a high fence. But when I looked and saw it from in the sort of the slight light darkness, he was actually jumping the fence. I said, oh no, he's jumping that fence 3 fences over. But you know, this is an internet picture of a dog, and that's really not how it looked. It looked more like this. Matter of fact, there you go. That's what we were facing, right there, okay? That's the dog we were facing. Now, he jumped the fence, and I said, there's no way that dog could jump a second fence. But he was very, very aggressive, and his barks were piercing the early morning silence. And so we were going down the road, so watch this now. Okay, he goes, watch. Okay, right about there is when I said I need to do something because that dog is not stopping. If we keep on going the way we are going, that dog is going to jump my wife. And you can see he jumped one fence, he's about to jump the next fence. And so now watch what happens with those arrows there. Watch what happens. See that? Okay. So I decide, I'm jogging along. Here's my wife over here. Go like this. All right, see the dog. So I go like this. All right, now my wife is over here. The dog is over here. As soon as I do that, as soon as I make that maneuver, the dog screeches to a halt. Now, in my mind, I saw the dog, and something happened inside my body called fight or flight. My eyes dilated, my heart started beating out more blood to the muscles, and guess what? Guess what I was willing to do? I was willing to fight. Thinking of running away, didn't even think, not an option at all. I was ready, to tell you the truth, I knew there would be blood. The dog's blood and my blood. I knew there would be. But in a snap decision, it wasn't even a decision. It was just automatic. I went and I was about to tear that dog apart if I had to. And he was like 10 times bigger than the other ugly dog that I met several years ago. It was a big, gigantic German Shepherd. He must have been like 25 feet tall, something like that. It was really big. And so as soon as I did that, though, you know, they say that dogs can smell fear. Well, I guarantee you he did not smell fear. He may have, I don't know what he smelled. But I'm pretty sure that he knew I meant business. And I don't mean to be bad about it, but I was ready to kill him if I had to. Because I'm not going to let that dog attack my wife. Now, here is the question I have for you. Between the 2 dog stories, the big question is, what made the difference? Why is it that I was willing to embarrass myself and run away from that puny little ugly dog, 2 years ago, and then now I'm willing to attack this attack dog. And what made the difference? Someone tell me. I love my wife. Yes, what else? My wife. My wife made the difference. Now, there is a very powerful, universal health principle going on here. My wife made the difference. Let me see if I can get something going on. Some of you who know your Bibles will recognize this is a formula, a universal formula, that when love goes up, fear goes down, and when love goes down, fear goes up. So, in the presence of love, when love is activated in your life, when love is happening, when love is present, there's something else that goes on along with that. Now think of this guy. He's afraid to make the jump. He's afraid, but he's got his girlfriend on the other side. Or he's got his girlfriend behind him saying, I want that, honey. Whatever's over there, right? And there's something about love that changes you. Not just making you want to do something, but physiologically. It actually changes you. Love makes a difference in the molecules in your bodies and your brains as well. So watch this. Here he is. In the presence, in the context of love, courage rules. Courage rules. It makes you want to do things. It makes you fearless. It makes you be the hero of the movie. But not only that, but in the context of love, motivation thrives. And motivation is what so many people lack. Oh, they know they should eat right. They know they should go to bed on time. They know they should do this and they should do that. But they're just not motivated. Well, one of the motivators is having a purpose last night. Tonight, another motivator is having love in your life. It matters that much. As a matter of fact, let's look at some science on this. Love releases chemicals in the brain that contribute to a life of optimal vitality. And that's what the book is about, The Full Power Plan. It's called Unlock Nature's Formula for Optimal Body-Mind, not just the body, not just the mind, body-mind, one word, body-mind vitality. Love is a contributor to that life of full power. It's more in the brain, of course, but it has physiological effects. So in a sense, you could even say love is so magical. Love is so powerful, it's like it flips on a switch. How many of you here recognize this building? It is the Parliament building. It's actually the one in Victoria. It looks kind of ugly, doesn't it? Now, I put that ugly because we're going to flip on the power switch. Watch what happens when we do. Now you can go downtown Victoria, and you'll see this every night when you go to Victoria, where I used to live nearby. I used to live in Brentwood Bay, not far from Bouchard Gardens. And if I ever wanted to get enlightened or feel inspired, I go downtown Victoria and I see the site. Remind me of kind of like Disneyland or something. But the point here is love makes that much of a difference. From the ugly looking darkness to this lighted up, beautiful piece of artwork. Now, they've done a number of studies on love and on what actually makes you thrive, what makes you healthy. Can you predict when you're young that you'll grow up to be healthy, and if so, what's causing that? And this is the kind of studies that they did at Harvard. So the question was, what's the best predictor of health and happiness? Now, this is actually a picture of Harvard. Harvard University is a world-class university in Boston. And I didn't know if you know, but my wife and I went there. It was a fine afternoon that we had there. And that was about it, just the afternoon. We went to the cafeteria. And this guy here was once a professor at Harvard, taught there, I don't know, for 16 years, a course called Happiness. Now, this seminar is about happiness, right? Health, hope, and happiness. And he taught the most popular course at Harvard. 1,600 students would attend his classes. And so he thought, I got all these students, I'm going to do some studies on my students. I'm going to figure out what makes a student at Harvard thrive? Is it how rich they are? Is it how smart they are? Is it what they get on their SAT scores? Is it their heritage? And they had a lot of heritage students there. What is it that you could predict that this student will thrive and this one won't? That's what he wanted to do. And so he put out some surveys. He actually wrote a couple of books on it, The Happiness Advantage and Big Potential. You see that's an acorn, big potential, that's an acorn. And the acorn is there because when you are given an acorn, you can end up with an oak tree. So the big potential is what he's talking about. So anyway, he did the studies. He actually got discouraged because he noticed that the real smart students, some of them thrived and some of them didn't. And he noticed that the least intelligent students, the ones who got the lowest grades, some of them thrived and some of them didn't. Like, he couldn't figure out a pattern here. And he was about to give up the study until he came up with the answer, and here's what he wrote. Using the most famously validated scale that measures how interconnected and socially supported an individual feels in their life, I found that social connection was, hands down, the greatest predictor of thriving both personally and academically at Harvard. Now let's just isolate this. Social connection, the greatest predictor of thriving. Not whether you ate your vegetables. Not even whether you got a walk-in every day. Not even if you had a good sleep. It was the quality of your relationships that determined your health outcome. The biggest predictor. All the other ones helped. But this was the biggest one that helped. And that's why I had to include it in the book, The Full Power Plan. I couldn't just talk about nutrition, because nutrition wasn't enough to elicit all the things that were needed. We absolutely need nutrition because we are what we eat. Actually, literally, we are. But we have to talk about social connection. Now, so the question is, how interconnected do you feel? That's the question. How interconnected do you feel? How's your love relationships? Do you have to give up who you are in order to feel accepted? Do you feel a feeling of belonging? Do you feel respect in your social circles? Do you feel love? Do you have the capacity to love other people? Do you feel love coming in from other people? These questions, these were the ones that determined whether those Harvard students thrived. They also predicted whether they'd be successful 20 years later. That mattered so much. It was your social connection. Maybe the Beatles had something going on when they said, all you need is, what? Love. I mean, how many here remember that song? Raise your hands. Okay, half of you. Okay, it was 1960 something, I don't know what. You can tell it's the 60s. But love really matters. Now, this is something I actually wrote in the book, so I'm going to quote the book because this is a second study that was done at Harvard and the most longest study, we think, in the entire world on the subject of what contributes to a happy, satisfied life. I'm going to read. Love does more than simply give you courage. Harvard University in Boston conducted 2 studies, I just talked about one, that highlighted more surprising byproducts of the lovified life. The first study, the Harvard Study of Adult Development, is one of the world's most comprehensive longitudinal studies on health, happiness, and longevity. It began in 1938, and it's still going on today. How many studies are that long? So what they did is I may as well read it. They tracked the lives of second-year students, and it just so happened that this young boy named John F. Kennedy was one of those students at that time. And so, and then they compared that group of Harvard students with a group of poor boys in Boston who lived in the poor area of town. So they had 2 kind of groups, and they're trying to look to see who would come out to be the healthiest, and what about them now can we use to predict to see what would happen to them in the future. Is there anything that we can use to predict thriving, to predict happiness, to predict health, to predict success? And they found something. Here's what they looked at, though. Let's see if I can read it from here. The list below shows attributes the researchers scrutinized to determine the top predictor of health, happiness, and longevity. So they looked at fame. They looked at fortune. They looked at social class, cholesterol levels, IQ levels, personality, and even their genetics. They looked at it all. They find, okay, we're going to ask these questions, and they did a lot of tests on these people, and then on their children and on their grandchildren, and even today they're still going on. So after reviewing tens of thousands of pages of data, they found that none of these things predicted anything. Didn't matter how smart you were or what, it didn't matter. And again, just like Sean Aker in the previous example, they're about to give up. Like, we can't figure out what actually causes happiness and health. And then it said the top predictor of it was this: close relationships. Close relationships. Now, if close relationships are the top predictor, not just a contributor to health and happiness, but the top predictor, then how ought we to know about how to have them? How to have close relationships? As a matter of fact, here's what they found. The people who were the most satisfied in their relationships at age 50, how old are you? Don't say. Were the healthiest at age 80. Now here's an example of something abstract contributing to something concrete, if you know what I mean. The question when they were 50 years old were, are you satisfied in your life? Are you satisfied in your relationships? The higher they were satisfied at age 50 with their love life, their friendships, that predicted not their happiness level or friendships or anything else at age 80. No, it predicted their health. In other words, their risk of heart disease. Their quality of their relationships predicted whether they're going to get a heart attack 30 years later. I'm oversimplifying when I say that. It predicted, or actually predicted, a reduced risk for cancer, a reduced risk for diabetes. And all these things, the mortality of almost everything, the risk of that went down when they discovered that if they were satisfied with relationships at age 50. Can you imagine? This is a brand new cause and effect connection here. And that made me think this has got to be part of a health program. It can't just be about food and exercise. We need that, but we need this too. And so it has to be there. So not only that, but they added to it. Loneliness kills. It's as powerful as smoking or alcoholism. Statistically, scientifically speaking, simply being lonely. And if you are lonely, I am sorry. If you're lonely, I want to encourage you to somehow get out of your shell. Find something you can do to connect with others. It'll make a big difference on your life, your health life, and your social life, etc. Now, I'm just going to stop here for any comments, questions or comments, doubts, hesitations, or confusions right now. I know I've been talking a long time. I'll have a few more things to say in a few minutes, but just want to give you a chance to share. Yes, please.
Are you saying that couples are better in health than a single person?
Yes, actually I am. Yeah. So if you're single, it's okay. You have many, many other things you can do. But generally, and I'll show a slide up there. I'll show a slide that kind of shows that. They've actually studied this. Happy couples, and they're saying that happy, not unhappy, but happy couples, healthy relationships actually help you to live longer. Actually help you to live longer. So if you are single, what are you going to do? Well, make friends. You don't necessarily need to get married, but make friends. Get involved in a group or something like that. It really makes a difference. It makes a difference. Anything else? Yes, somebody else. Comments, questions, doubts, hesitations, or confusions?
What was number 5? Sorry, I was taking my notes slow. You have fame, fortune, social class, cholesterol levels.
Right there?
Okay.
IQ, personality.
And genes.
Yeah, personality is if you're an extrovert or an introvert type of thing. However they measure personality, it's different measurements these days. So yeah, that's what it was. So they measured all that stuff. Did make a difference. You can be an extrovert or you can be an introvert. Introverts can be really healthy, live a long time if they have close friends. Same with extroverts. And there's pros and cons to each one, so it's not like you got to be one or the other. So any more comments? Should I go on? Okay. Can you read okay? What time is it? Doing okay for time?
8:10.
Say 10 and we stop at 8:30? Okay. Okay. I'm going to just stop right now. I just want you to read the screen. So sometimes, you need to have a friend. And if you can't get a friend, get a dog. It actually makes a difference. Get a dog. Cats may work, but it depends what kind of cat you get. But usually it's a dog. In this case, the dog didn't work. The dog didn't work. So I'm just going to read it out loud for those who didn't. This is an emotional support dog after I got done telling it my problems. And he's looking at the camera going, "Ooh, I can't handle this." All right, so anyway, the whole idea is that connections, even with animals, even with horses, with cats and dogs, just with horses, with dolphins, we've heard stories about that as well. I'm reading a book right now called Compassionomics. And in that book, it even talks about the physiological response of a dog's heart when you pet the dog. Same with horses. There's actual physiological changes when an animal is connecting with a human being and with other animals as well. Certainly positive connection, of course, not abusing them or anything like that. So yeah, there's something to think about. The quality of our relationships can matter more than the food we eat. That's how important love is. That's why we want to find ways to lovify our lives. Are you motivated to lovify your life? Are you motivated to do just one more little thing to add to the love that you feel in your life? Here's some books on the subject. This is A Cry Unheard by James Lynch, called The Medical Consequences of Loneliness. I read the book, it made me sad. But it gave me a motive to want to myself and to help others see the importance of relationships. It really, really does matter. And then this Psychology Today, I just happened to see that in the drugstore one time, and it's called A Loneliness Cure. What's that say? How to make connections that count. Here's another one, Maclean's magazine, came out a few years ago. Join the compassion revolution. What does it say there in brackets? Oh, we're all doomed. Really? Just because we don't have compassion? Yes. Because lack of compassion kills people. Apathy kills people, right? I don't care if I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to get my money. I don't care if I'm going to get my status. I don't care. And so, but compassion cares for people. It makes them want to draw in. And then it says here, there's an urgent call for more compassion as the last gasp remedy for systems at the brink. Politics, healthcare, the planet itself. But do we have it in us? This is the article that was written in Maclean's magazine just a few years ago when I was just breezing by the magazine rack in the grocery store and the pharmacy section of the grocery store. And I had to take a picture. of it because it matters so very much. I could have blown that up before, then I could read it a little bit better. Yeah, there you go, see? So here's Gandhi who says, the day the power of love overrules the love of power, the world will know peace. There's much we can say about that, but if it did, the world might look like this. Happy people, enjoying, feeling loved, and having the ability to love. That's what makes us work so well. Having, here it is about the single versus married. Having a life partner can add up to 3 years of life expectancy. National Geographic, the Blue Zone's the science of living longer there. And so that's 3 years it adds. And there's more studies on this as well. So if you're single, are you doomed? Of course not. If you're single, just know about it and make friends and be friendly and connect with people. Call up people. Connect with people every week at something or other. And that would be the answer. That would be the answer, so don't fret. Well, sometimes people say, anyone here remember George Burns? George Burns? He's from New York, so he talked like this. Yeah, I'm George Boyne. Say, how you doing? And he'd have a cigar. And he smoked a cigar like every day. And he lived to be 100. 100. He died at, he died at 100 years old. And so someone says, I can smoke cigars every day and live to 100 just like George Burns. Now, that is an oversimplistic conclusion to make. Reason why is because, yes, he did smoke cigars every day for like 80 years or more, and he did live to be 100, and so what gives? Here we are saying, don't smoke, it's bad for your health, and yet here he is smoking and he's living to 100. It just doesn't make sense. Here's what we need to know about that. What we put into our bodies is only one contributor to our health. Our sleep, our exercise, our attitude, our mindset, our relationships are other contributors to health as well. And they all have to be added together before we can conclude that we're going to live a long life. And I may as well read what he said there. If you ask me, what is the single most important key to longevity, I have to say it's avoiding worry. Okay, he didn't say it, but the science talks about how stress ages us, right? Stress and tension. Avoid worry, stress, and tension. And if you didn't ask me, I'd have to say it anyway. And so this is George Boynes. So he's a comedian, he's an actor, dancer in the old days, all that kind of stuff. So he died in 1996. But I used to like to listen to him talk because it's just funny for me as a young man. Now, the point being is this. The L of full power, the first L is Lovify your life. The F is find your superpower. The U is unleash your positive spirituality. The L is Lovify your life, and the second L is launch your plan. POWER is about the nutrition and physical stuff. This is about the mental stuff. And so the point being that we can go to George Burns and say, yes, if he were to be scored on the O, omit what is harmful, he didn't omit what is harmful. He smoked what was harmful. So he would get a low score on the O. And this is in my book, you can read about it. He'd get a low score. He might score like 1 or 2 out of 10 on smoking. So he smokes, so it's bad. But he probably scored very high, like a 10, on having love in his life. And he might have scored very high on, I don't know what kind of spirituality I have no idea. But he certainly had a sense of purpose. So very high on that, and maybe some other things as well, I don't know. But the whole point being, you can't use one man's habits to conclude that we can go ahead and do that bad habit and we'll live just as long as him. Because they're, in the science world, they're called confounds. You cannot be conclusive based upon one set of behaviors because there are other contributors that you don't know about. And this attempts to take into account the other behaviors at the root cause level. Root cause. And so that's why we have full power, not just one item. All right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
You good with that? Okay, that was the attempt, so you can fill yourself up. Now, here's things you can say if you're fighting with someone you love. So what do? Hopefully you're motivated to want to have good relationships, but you know very well there's people who you love who you get into arguments with, right? You don't want to, but you do, because you know they're wrong and you're right. Isn't that right? Okay. Just ask my wife. She'll tell me. She'll tell me everything I want to know. So here's what you can say in an argument to keep the relationship more positive. Number 1, say you're right about, and then list something. So that gives a connection point there. Yeah, I think you're wrong about these 110 things, but you're right about this. And that's at least a help. Second thing, I'm sorry for. Just remember, I'm sorry for. An apology goes a long way, a whole lot better than a self-defense. I hear you saying this. Did I understand that right? Oh, that's a good one. It means I feel respected if someone wants to understand me right. And they may have misheard me. And so before I get on their case, I have to make sure we're clear on what they heard, right? And if my wife ever said this, what I mean, if she ever says it, I say it and she says it, we say it to each other all the time. Because my wife just doesn't understand how right I am. It's just so frustrating. She just doesn't get me. You know, actually, she's the most loving person in the world. What I need is, now this is you stating your needs. You don't have to accuse. Just say, here's my need. Here's what I need, honey. And you can say this with friends. It doesn't need to be with a spouse. It could be with your friend. It's not me against you. It's us against this problem. So we isolate the problem from us. We're still together. It's the problem that's against us. Let's work on it that way. And then what's the next one? I think we should take a break and come back in 10 minutes. You know why? Because usually when people are arguing, and it could be a parent and a child. It could be a husband and a wife. It could be two best friends. When an argument is ensuing, often the activity of the limbic system of the brain is more active than the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the rational, the analytical part, the part of the brain. But when you feel threatened by somebody accusing you, putting you down, disrespecting you, the prefrontal cortex is not what's working. It's the limbic system that's working, and the amygdala sets off alarms. Threat, threat, threat. And your body has physiological responses. And those physiological responses are not logical, they're simply physiological. That's why you say, I think we need to take a break and come back in 10 minutes. So that electrical activity in the limbic system of the brain can dissipate. So that gives us a chance to start using the rational part of our brain. Does that make sense? That could save a relationship. And healthy relationships can mean the difference between a heart attack 4 years from now or not. So you get the idea. We're looking at the cause and effect, and we're going back to the root cause. And sometimes the cause of that heart attack is a bad relationship, and you wouldn't even know it. You say, oh, it's just because they ate too much cholesterol. Yeah, maybe. But you keep on going, the domino effect, right? You go back to the original cause. It may be that you just didn't forgive somebody. It may be that you feel disrespected. It may be that you don't have a good relationship with your husband or your wife, and something is needed. And so we want to take it to the prefrontal cortex and not let it remain in the limbic system of the brain. Does that make sense? Okay? Children. You're not children, but when you're talking about children or talking to children, remember that. When the child is angry, you can't reason with them. Don't try. Because they're operating under the limbic system, the center part of their brain. They're not going to be able to use their prefrontal cortex. It's just not activated. And therefore, when parents use their force or their logic, or their force of logic on a child, it usually does not go well. And the parent walks away frustrated, and the child says, oh, I hate my mom, I hate my dad. Well, this is all about relationships, and this is one way to keep them healthier. Next one, getting back on track with you is my priority. Now, what if someone said that to you in an argument? Getting back on track with you. I want to get back on track with you. This is a priority of mine. So it tells you that there's some higher values that we have here. It's wonderful. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Listening is so much like loving, you can't tell the difference. That's what one person told me. I thought, I think I believe that. So here's some practical hints. I didn't make these up. These actually came from a health psychologist lady who writes for Time magazine. She wrote these. Here's some do's and don'ts to Lovify your life. Number one, rather than give answers, ask questions and then listen. Bonds people. Number two, seek the good in others and let them know what you see. Absolutely. We talked about that last night. If you see something good in somebody else, Don't be shy. Tell them so. It could lift them up. When my mother told me when I was 15, you should be a teacher, I had no idea about myself. I did not know myself well enough, but my mother seemed to know me. And so when she said that, that put this thought into my head, you know? So maybe we could do that for others as well. We can point out something good about them and make note of that to them. Number 3, learn courtesy. That's a simple one, right? Learn courtesy. Here's someone being courteous. Laugh together. Find reasons for laughter. Not laughing at someone, of course, but laughing together. Learning kindness. Oh, look at them. They just love, you can tell they just love each other. They just love each other. Respond to bids for connection or bids for attention. I need to talk about this a little bit. It comes from this book, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. It's the top New York Times best-selling book. And in this book, John Gottman and his wife, I think his wife is, it says Nan, that's not his wife. I think he's married. Anyway, you can see them on YouTube. This is this is probably the best book on relationships. Here's why. John and his wife, they're both PhD in psychology. They have something what they call a love lab. And they'd bring in couples to live in an apartment for a week. And they'd have cameras all over the place, except the bedroom and the bathroom. And they did all this was done with permission. And they would observe how the couples interact. And they did this like for years. So they had a lot of data on how couples interacted and when they fought, and if they made up and things like that. Here's what they noticed. When the spouse responded to a bid for attention, they predicted, John Gottman could predict with 93% accuracy the success or failure of their marriage. Now, if you can predict with 93% accuracy that someone in a marriage is going to stay married, you're doing pretty good. That's really, really good. So what is a bid for attention? Imagine a husband and a wife sitting down at a breakfast table. The husband is reading the newspaper and not paying any attention to his wife who just put the breakfast down for him to eat. It looks like he is impertinent, apathetic, not caring. So the wife makes a bid for attention. Honey, look out the window, see our flowers are growing. The husband can act in one of 3 possible ways. How he responds to that bid for connection will predict the success or failure of his marriage in years to come. He could say, can't you see I'm reading this newspaper? Be quiet. Do you think that would go well with the wife? Women, can you let me know about this? All right, no, it won't go well. All right. He could say absolutely nothing and just turn the page of his newspaper and continue reading, thus ignoring her. Or he could put his paper down and look out the window and say, look at that, honey. Those flowers are growing. Okay, which one is the best response to the bid for attention? 1, 2, or 3? 3. Number 3. Okay, so you understand it. So that this is a way to enhance relationships. And so when I read about that, I remember my wife. Now, I usually try to pay attention to my wife, but she says my head's in the clouds so much, I don't know. And so now, if she says something like, oh, honey, look outside, or look at the sky, whatever she says, I'm going to stop what I'm doing, and I'm going to respond in whatever way to show her that I'm responding to her bid for attention. And she will do the same for me. Now, we've been married for 40 years, and I wish I could stay married to her for another 40 million. And I'm thinking got a good chance of that. Anyway, so there you go. So that's called responding to a bid for connection. That was a lesson I got from Dr. John Gottman. I recommend his book, which I just put up on the screen. Another one is use your talents to build up others. Last night we talked about using your talents. When you use your talents purposely to edify, to build up someone else, you're actually making them physiologically healthier. Not just emotionally, physiologically, and yourself too. It just makes the world a better place, and it makes our bodies better bodies. Learn to listen. Won't talk too much about that. Here's some don'ts. Don't dominate the conversation. Don't be dogmatic. Don't be demanding. Don't be judgmental. Don't make yourself the hero of every story. Don't isolate yourself. So those are just some points there. I'm going to comments?
Can we have that screen again?
Okay, yeah, go back again. 1, 2, 3. Are you going to show this to your husband?
That's true.
Just kidding, just kidding. So yeah, there's some don'ts. So I talked about the need for relationships, and now I'm saying here's how we can have those relationships. This is the point here, right? Relationships are so vitally important. In other words, be humble, be kind. We only live once, and life is short, so don't waste it, with energizing yourself up with the bad things and stuff like that. So yeah, there's some don'ts. So I have to end with Peanuts. Charlie Brown. Let's see if I can read this for you. It's hard for me to, I gotta run really close. All right, is that Linus?
It looks like.
Linus comes up to Charlie Brown. Boy, you're in trouble. And then he says, you better get out of town. Now Charlie Brown is just looking at him with this dazed look on his face. Linus continues, the girls are looking for you, Charlie Brown, and are they ever mad? Then he goes away. He leaves Charlie Brown all by himself. Now the girls come. All right, you, the girls say. Who are the girls? Linus, Lucy, and the other ones. All right, you know them. You're the one we've been looking for. We're going to have this out right here and right now. All right, now, did you pick up the quality of relationships that's going on here? Okay, what's happening? There is a threat happening. There's 3 girls about to gang up on one innocent little boy. We actually don't know how innocent he is. Let's find out. What have you got to say for yourself? Now Charlie Brown begins to speak. He says, nothing. You girls are absolutely right. And I'm glad to hear you feel this way. And they just turn right around and walk away. They seem to be satisfied. The relationship was saved. The threat was averted. Now, what does Charlie Brown say as he looks into the camera? My soft answer hath turned away a whole flock of wrath. He was quoting the book of Proverbs, by the way. And so there's something in Proverbs. Now, even if you're not a Christian, if you're not a believer, I suggest you take the book of Proverbs, 21 chapters, read through every verse until you see something on relationships, and then practice it for that day and see where your life goes. You will find out some wonderful, wonderful things on that. Charlie Brown did it, so it worked for him, right? It's got to work for us, right? So if you do that, then you'll contribute to living a life of full power. Thank you. May God bless you.
Thank you very much. Did you find the presentation helpful?